Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to be your own hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient slash survivor. Been dealing with cancer since late 2020. And compared to my guest, I'm a rookie, but that's okay. Doing well in our new home in Texas. It's we're having a relative heat wave. It's probably going to be 100 degrees every day this week, but that's okay. So happy to wake up every single day to a brand new day and experiencing a new day each and every day, which is absolutely fantastic. Time is so precious and needs to be lived. So that's what we're trying to do. I am so excited because I actually have like somebody who's almost could have been a former neighbor because she lives in a couple towns away from where I used to live, maybe 15 or 20 minutes away. And her name is Phuong Ly Gallagher. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce her to you. And Phuong Ly, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and let's get this thing going.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for having me on, Mark. I'm Phuong Gallagher, and I am a stage 4 rectal cancer survivor. I was diagnosed when I was just 29 years old. I was just married for a half a year before I got diagnosed, and haven't chased off my husband yet, so we're doing good.
Good for you. Good for you. Um, so let's start at the beginning of your journey. You're a 17-year survivor, and which is an incredible amount of time, which is congratulations on that. Why don't we start at the beginning? How did you find out that you had cancer and what happened? Uh, how did you get your diagnosis?
So I was actually just engaged and climbing that corporate ladder, just working that career. And there was a lot of stress in life just with so much to do. And I started experiencing symptoms like really extreme abdominal cramping, like it would just double me over in my office out of the blue. I had changes to my stool. I had anemia, really bad weight loss. And even though I was trying to gain weight, I just couldn't do it no matter how much I was eating, what I was eating. The pounds just kept falling. And at the time, I didn't realize how low it had gotten. But by the time I got to diagnosis, I was down to about 82 pounds. It's one of those things that you don't really see in yourself because you look in the mirror day to day. But when they say that, you kind of go, that can't be right. What I found out later was that what I was experiencing was a checklist of symptoms for colorectal cancer. And I had actually gone to the doctor while I was engaged to ask about these symptoms and what could be done. I actually asked about getting a colonoscopy to rule out anything and to see what was going on in there. And unfortunately, because of my age, and honestly, because I look young and healthy, my primary care physician kind of blew me off and just said, it's just stress. You're stressed out because of work and your wedding, and you're too young for cancer. When I asked for the colonoscopy, like I think he clued in that I was concerned about it being something worse, and he really dismissed me and said, "You're anemic. Here's some iron pills, switch to a blend diet, you'd be fine with the stomach issues. That's all. Maybe it's Crohn's, colitis. I Who knows?" And he just really dismissed me. And so it really wasn't until after I got married, we moved to Northern California, and then one day I got really fatigued when my husband was outside playing with my daughter, my stepdaughter, and I just said, I need to sit down for a minute, and said, "You okay?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm fine. Just a little tired. You guys play, you know." And he came in to check on me a little later, and I was just wiped. And he kissed me on the forehead, and he said, "Oh my God, you're burning up. We need to get you into a doctor." And of course, here I go. "Oh no, no, it's just a summer cold. I'm fine. Don't worry about me." And we've moved up here. We don't even have a new primary yet. I don't even know who we're gonna go see. Luckily for me, he dragged me in, and I got to see a nurse practitioner. And the first indication was the weight. You go in, they weigh you, and that's indication number one. Then when I started talking to her and exploring the symptoms a little bit, and she says, I can help with bringing the fever down. So let's take care of that. But, with the stomach issues, let's just send you to a gastroenterologist, figure out what's going on. Um, and I think she suspected something, but didn't say it. Probably didn't want to worry me. And when I went to the gastroenterologist, he said, your answers don't really point to any specific thing. So let's just put you through a colonoscopy and see what we find. Great. That's exactly what I wanted before anyway. So turns out that they found it right at the rectal brick as soon as they went in with the camera. It was right there. And so I was diagnosed with stage 3C rectal cancer. Um, it was really hard because I was so young and I had never really been sick before. So I had gone from being this healthy, active, person to suddenly you have cancer. And it really was a shock. And I'm so grateful to have my husband there, because without his support, I would have fallen apart. I don't know what I would have done. But um,
So what exactly went through your mind right at that time?
when I when I heard that I was diagnosed, well, it was actually my husband who told me, because the doctor told him that, oh, well, she's getting changed right now. You can tell her when she gets out. And that was a surprise. And that was actually kind of a funny story, because you wouldn't expect people to be laughing when they hear that they have cancer. But, we were just behind those curtains while I was in the recovery area. And, first thing I look up and I'm groggy, and I see him sitting. Now, this is a man who stands through dinner time sometimes just because he's standing. Um, and so I looked at him and said, you're sitting. Like, why are you sitting? And it just, in my haze, nothing was making sense. And so he said, well, we got some bad news. They found something. It looks like it's cancer. So in my head, I'm thinking, where in the colon did they find it? But all I managed to say was, well, where'd they find it? He said, where did they look, honey? If they found breast cancer, I'm gonna go knock somebody out in the next room right now. So, of course, that made me laugh, and you could hear the foot traffic stop because people were listening into you know, is she gonna be okay? Are we gonna have a crying mess? Do we need to bring tissues? But that was my diagnosis. So, right off the bat, he made it okay because we were together and I had him. He made it okay.
That's great. That's great. So in your mind, you, you know, let's kind of go back because a couple of things. I hear this story, about being young
Mhm.
and, the doctor saying the things similar. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And, this was at a time 17 years ago. I mean, that's like the Stone Age of cancer. I mean, you
Yes.
were in the dark. There was, what we have today, we have so much more access and so much more information and so many more support groups that I mean, you in many ways are a true pioneer um, for, that type of cancer for sure. So, what did you do looking forward as far as your plan of action?
You know, I am now a very different person than I was back then, even from a cancer space. I'm much more informed now, obviously, having had a lot of experience. And I think what it really was at that time was just grin and bear it. And I came from a culture where you didn't talk back to elders. You spoke when you were spoken to. You do as you're told. And so I was really a passive consumer of healthcare back then because I didn't know any better. And so it was whatever the doctor said to do, I did. And that's how I got through, the treatments at the time. It was just, okay, left foot, right foot. They said, do this, then I do that. Um, and one day, we had a chance meeting with a realtor, and he turned out to be a young colon cancer patient himself. And up until then, I had no support group at the hospital because they were made up of people who were at least twice my age. They didn't have an understanding of the day-to-day concerns that I had. When you're talking about the financial aspect of not being as established as somebody who was older with a more established career, you're talking about beginning a family life, you're talking about infertility and sexual health. When you're thinking about all these different things that are very different from the two age groups, right? And so it was just me and my husband for a long time. And one day we met this person, and my husband went out to grab some water for me from the car, and he comes into this guy and me holding up our shirts, flashing our scars at each other, and he kind of goes, I know where this went, and this is going, but how did you get here? Like how did this even come up? And so he introduced me to something called the Colon Club. And that was started by Molly McMaster Morgoslipov, as one of the co-founders. And it was specifically for young colorectal cancer patients because, like me and everybody else in the colon club, we were basically told you're the only ones like this. There's nobody else like this that has this disease that's this young. And that just wasn't true. And so I pretty much lived on the Colon Club forum for years and years and years, because that that day that I first jumped on was my inkling into the information that you now have so accessible in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, whatever platform you want to go to. It's available. But back then, we had two lines of treatment. We had FOLFOX and FOLFIRI, and then good luck, you know. And so it was really eye-opening to see all these people who were not passive consumers of healthcare. They were asking questions, and they were getting answers, and they were getting second opinions, and they were challenging what their doctors were telling them. And I had never even thought that that was a possibility. It completely changed my approach and my relationship with my doctors for the better. Because once I got involved, we were now working together, and that gives you the best healthcare possible.
Right, absolutely. It takes a team, and it takes a coordinated effort with people that you trust,
Yes.
and to move forward. And it sounds like that your husband played an absolutely huge role in all of this for
Oh, yeah.
support. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, I was away from all my family and friends. So it really was my husband and myself. Our daughter, my stepdaughter, was with us half the time, and she was with her mom the other half of the time, obviously. So, it really was centered on the two of us to go through our cancer together. Plus, my daughter was only 9 at the time that I was diagnosed. So while we had conversations with her and were honest with her with what was going on with me, it was very tailored to be age appropriate for her, so she would understand, oh, mommy has to go in for an operation, but the extent of the risk of the operation was not discussed, so you really have to walk that fine line of how much information is appropriate for you and those that you're speaking with.
I mean, how did you go about sharing that with your daughter, about what you were going through? Because I know that's a very difficult thing for most people is when and what to share about that.
You know, she made it easy.
Really?
Um, I know that's weird to say because she's a child, but she was such a bright child and such a compassionate child. And um, I think part of it was she went through cancer with her grandmother when she was just a couple of years old, and she spent the last of her grandmother's days with her laying in the hammock, you know, looking at the sky and the clouds and spending the best times with her, And so she wasn't afraid to see a sick person. She had seen it before, so I don't think that scared her. Um, and so it was just we would basically tell her the truth of things appropriate to her age, and then she could ask any questions that she wanted. And we always made sure that we answered her questions until she didn't have any more questions because we didn't want it to be an unknown scary thing that she had in her heart that we could have taken away just with answers. So we always made it a rule that we would just, we would have dinner, we would tell her, here's what's going on. And then we would say, okay, just what are your questions and let's talk about it.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love to hear that. And the communication is just so important, so critical with the people that you love and the people that are around you.
Yeah.
And if you're open about it, and I can't even imagine, what was like 17 years ago to tell people, because I think there's been a kind of a sort of an evolution because there's so many people with cancer now that people are, you know, there's a shift. I could feel the shift in the way people respond. Not with everybody, but with a fair number of people now. What
Mhm.
was it like back then, telling people that you had cancer?
It was like saying I have a death sentence
Right.
because as soon as said I have cancer, it was, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And just the look of devastation that always came back to you. What I realized very quickly was that people would take my lead. So if I was delivering news of, let's say, a recurrence, if I was to be, oh my God, what am I gonna do? All this panic. And if I did that, then that's how they would reciprocate and react. But when I would say, okay, well, I have a recurrence, but here's the plan of action and here's what we're gonna do. Here's the expectation, and just be matter of fact, and then that's it. Then people kind of I could see the gears turning in their head and just kind of go, oh, okay. Well, okay, great. So how can I help you then? How can I support you? And so they were able to move on to things much quicker than the woe is me reaction.
I just find that fascinating. I mean,
Yeah.
it's um, when I got diagnosed, people wanted to know every single detail of everything every day. And I found that I said, this is going to kill me quicker than the cancer is. I mean,
Yes.
because I was literally on the phone morning, noon, and night talking about it. And I was like, this is unsustainable. And that's when I got together with my daughters and we created a Caring Bridge site. Uh,
Mhm.
and now there's even better things available. So how did you deal with that,
Yeah.
situation of, because I know that people were concerned about you, and yet, was your husband doing a lot of that, or were you taking a lion's share, or how did you manage that?
I think we really learned from our first mistake in news delivery was when we were telling people that I was diagnosed and you were making phone calls and it was the dreaded, okay, are they going to pick up or not? Because if they pick up, then you have to deliver this horrible news. And if they don't pick up, then, well, you got to leave a message, just call me back. And then you're sitting and waiting until they call you back. And so it was very emotionally taxing, like you said. So we learned from that. And what we did was we picked one person from each of the circles that we had, obviously like our work circle, and then my close friends circles from school, for example, or whatever. And we would tell this core group of people, and they would be the ones responsible for disseminating information from there. So we didn't have to deal with all these people flooding in. And it was always with the message of, hey, if you want to call and wish me well, I may not pick up, leave a message, that's great. But if you're calling to boohoo about something and tell me that you're sorry, they're never going to see me again, don't call. We'll take all the well wishes, but you can keep the sorry, I won't ever see you again.
There's a great, I met a lady from the Netherlands, and her name's Paula Seafair, and she created an app it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's an interactive app, and cancer patients could give it to whoever they want to share it with, family, friends, their close circle. And the cancer patient puts down the things that they need. Hey, I need somebody, if somebody could mow my lawn or make me dinner, and people would respond in the app. And it's a really, really phenomenal new tool that uh, I mean, I wish I had it when I was going through it, because I would have
Yeah.
used the heck out of it.
Yeah,
So,
stuff like that's amazing. I mean, for me, it was really my daughter's soccer team. The soccer moms are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, they, without being asked, put together a meal train so that we didn't have to worry about cooking dinner, for example. So like once a week, somebody would bring over dinner, but they would never just knock on the door and give it to us. They played ding dong ditch basically, so that we wouldn't have to go through the energy it takes to please come in and sit with them, or feel that obligation. And so they would just ding dong and run away. So I didn't even know who was dropping off dinner, but it was the sweetest thing. And I always remembered that. It was great.
well, that's awesome. Wow. I love it. That's the beautiful thing about humanity is people who come together and help somebody in the time of need. It's just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. That is great to hear you got that kind of support. Um, Amazing. So let's kind of like walk further along in your journey.
Mm.
So, what would you say would have happened next?
Well, I got really involved with the Colon Club, as I said, and then the first person that I was close to um, passed away, and it devastated me. I should have seen it coming that someday I would lose somebody, but I had never considered it. And it just wrecked my world, and I didn't know what to do with myself. But she had asked me to do something, which was to apply to be one of the models for the magazine that the Colon Club puts together. And that's not my thing. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like that just did not seem to be something I wanted to do. And so when she initially asked me, I started the application and I didn't finish it. I always found an excuse to not finish it and submit it. But when she passed, I realized that was the best way to honor her, was to do what she wished. Um, and so I applied and I was accepted. And I went to this retreat for the photo shoot, and I met my first cancer brothers and sisters. Um, and the 12 of us bonded during that time like you would not believe was possible in that 5 short days. To meet somebody else who's like you when you've been told by so many that you, you're alone in this. This is, yeah, nobody else is like this. It's just you. To actually meet them, see them, hug them, um, and not have to explain yourself in any way, and everybody just gets it. Wow, that completely changed me. And all of a sudden, I couldn't get enough of being there, helping others, giving back. Who's a newbie and needs a little extra hand holding? Who's got questions that I can answer because I've been there, I've done that. And I started realizing that if I can tell my story or share pieces of it to help the next person, then they don't have to go through that scary dark place alone, and they don't have to go through that piece in the absence of information. Like, they can know what's going on and then make decisions for themselves from there. And that was just, it gives me so much even now to be able to sit one-on-one with somebody and just share, like, "Hey, I get it. I've been there. I understand, and it's okay. You don't have to explain it." That's what I continue to do now in many regards.
It's the cancer community is like a big uh, fraternity or sorority or of people, and it just fascinates me what an instant bond you have with people. It's a bond that normally would take, weeks or months or however. And with the cancer community, I mean, this is the first time I'm talking to you, but I already know that, we're on the same page and we understand what the other person is saying because of our shared experiences. And that's
Yeah.
just an incredible thing to me. It's just absolutely beautiful. Wouldn't you agree?
Completely, 100% agree with that. I always say that the retreat was like there was just some pixie dust sprinkled over, because just magic happens when we get together, and a lot of the same thing happens when we see each other at conferences now. It's like you just you brighten up. Like, it's such a tragedy that cancer is what brought us together, but to see each other again in person is just, it's such a gift.
Right, right. I had uh, a chance to meet a group of people. Are you familiar with showing up perspectives on cancer?
Yes.
I went to their live event last year in Pennsylvania, and to meet people that I had chatted with online in person, it was spectacular, absolutely spectacular, and it, it's indescribable the bond that you have with people.
And it's
It's
remarkable because you
yes,
don't think that somebody who you've never met, that you only know online, how can you be so close to? But it happens time and time again.
yes, yes, absolutely. Uh, I talk to people a lot about how to deal with people on social media. And one of the things that I always share with people is if you look at that icon of that person as a human being instead of just, a number that's out there somewhere in the world, that changes the perspective of your relationship. When you treat people like people, no matter if it's on social media or in person or whatever method of connection that you have, if you treat them with respect and like you want to be treated, then that leads to, you know, what can be an incredible relationship. And yeah, I
I
love
think
that.
that there's a parallel in that with my medical team as well. Um, I really have been fortunate in the doctors and nurses and all the everybody on my care team. They're phenomenal, and I think the commonality in all of them is they see me as a person, not just as a cancer patient that they're treating. Like, here's the next person, now here's the next. It's really it changes the dynamic completely when you seeing this person as a person, like you said. So instead of the icon, instead of a number, instead of the next patient coming in, this is a person, and they have family, they have a life, and they have, needs, and we need to take care of them.
Absolutely. Phuong Ly, would you like to come back for a part two? Because we have so much more to discuss.
Absolutely. I would be delighted.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. What would be your final thought that you would like to leave everyone with today?
I would say no matter how hard things get, no matter how scary things get, look for the good and look for the hope, because it's there.
Beautiful, beautiful. And one I have two last questions. If you were to wish for anything, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Um, I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay, and then let's go to the last question. How would you help make this world a better place?
Mm. Um, I live with intention by how would I want to be remembered. And I think that helps me to be a better person and to try harder and to leave this place a better place. Um, and I guess that my wish would be connected to that is for people to love each other more than whatever bias, hate that they have, and to just let love win.
I cannot give a better answer than that. That is absolutely fantastic. Phuong Ly, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your vast knowledge and your experience, long experience with cancer. And we will bring you back for a part two to talk about a lot more things in your journey. But I'd like to thank everyone at this time for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. Please like, make a comment in the comments section, and if you'd like, subscribe to the channel. And I hope that everyone has a very blessed week. Make it a great one because time is our most valuable commodity, which cannot be replaced. Use it wisely and use it to the best of your abilities. And we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Take care.